Why PM Modi visited Gangaikonda Cholapuram? How has this grand temple become a political background? And how Chola glory is very closely related to not just Hinduism but political symbolism as well. What connects a 1,000-year-old Chola emperor to the 21st century Prime Minister? Why did specifically Gangaikonda Cholapuram was chosen for the visit of Prime Minister Modi? It is a symbol of Tamil power, Hindu faith, and imperial Chola glory. When we talk about this Prime Minister visit, it is not merely a visit, it is a message. It is a highlight and it is significant in terms of the temple as well as the political message it brings. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh and today we are going to look into the political context implications of the visit by Prime Minister to the town of Gangaikonda Cholapuram, what is the historical significance associated with it, and how this city is a symbol of not just Hinduism but also the Chola glory. So let us begin with understanding what has been the crux and occasion of this particular visit. So when we talk about this particular visit, this visit has just taken place where Prime Minister Modi went ahead and visited Gangaikonda Cholapuram temple, and it was specially during the Aadi Thiruvathirai Festival. Now, this is the cultural aspect of that particular region, but why it is being highlighted? It was not just this key activity that happened. He also released a commemorative coin which celebrated 1,000 years of Rajendra Chola I's naval expedition to Southeast Asia, and he also went ahead and announced the installation of statues, gigantic statues of Raja Chola and Rajendra Chola in Tamil Nadu. Now, when we are talking about these key activities, they are associated with a very clear political context. Now, we will be trying to understand that political context. First comes the cultural messaging through this particular visits and the occasion activities that have been carried out. Now, when we talk about the cultural messaging, the main focus has been on the fact that the Hindu cultural heritage lies not just in North India but across the nation. And it is the glorification of Chola naval power. Why we are focusing on that? Because Chola glory is also symbolic related to Indian pride, strength and unity, and this clearly highlights the fact that we are trying to showcase that India or Indian heritage is not divided into two parts. It comes from all across the nation, and especially Chola glory and Chola heritage is very much part of this Hindu cultural heritage itself. Now, if we talk about the direct political context that can be established from it, we have to understand that this visit is definitely in direct relation to the coming ahead elections in Tamil Nadu next year, where BJP wants to mark a footprint in a state where it has never seen a basic hold. Other than that, the idea here is to blend with the Dravidian identity with Indic civilizational and nationalism. Now, when we talk about this particular idea, now why it is being done? The separation has been so long when we talk about mainstream Indic civilization, nationalism and Dravidian identity. They have been separated for so long. The idea is to integrate both of them so that there can be some inroad for especially this particular party in Tamil Nadu. And the idea here is to reframe, restructure Chola legacy and associate directly it with Indian Hindu heritage rather than pointing out that Chola legacy is just associated with a regional territory. So this separation or exclusiveness that BJP wants to get rid of. They want Chola legacy to be understood as a very much integrated part with the Indian Hindu heritage. As much as this visit, the key activities do have a political message. But more than that, what becomes important is for us to understand the Chola legacy, the heritage, the architecture and the significance that surrounds this particular temple. So now let us move ahead and understand that. So when we talk about the historical importance of this temple, let me explain to you. Gangaikonda Cholapuram is basically a town in which this temple is located. Most of the time it is also referred to as Gangaikonda Cholapuram temple. However, the name by it goes is the Brihadeshwara temple. There are two Brihadeshwara temples. One Brihadeshwara temple is now located in Thanjore, which was the earlier capital of the Chola Empire. The later capital was established in Gangaikonda Cholapuram, and this temple is located there where PM Modi visited. If we talk about both of these temples, they are part of the living Chola legends, living Chola temples, that is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So this whole complex is part of a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which is living Chola temples. Now, when we talk about the historical importance, we have to understand that this was constructed by Rajendra I after he was victorious when he went towards north and up and until Ganga river, and amidst this march, he was able to defeat multiple fragmented dynasties which were found in north. This is one of the times where there were very consolidated empires in the south, but if we talk about north, we have to understand there were fragmented weaker empires that existed, and one of the prominent ones, Pala dynasty in Bengal, was defeated by the Cholan army. Now, this particular city was named Gangaikonda Cholapuram. Basically, it means the city of the Chola who brought the Ganga. So, Ganga water was brought here, and a liquid water tank was also established as a liquid symbolism, just like when we create a pillar as a symbol of victory. Similarly, liquid Ganga water tank was created as the symbol of this victory. And this city served as the imperial capital for over 250 years. Now, you have to understand why it is being called imperial capital. When we talk about Chola Empire's reign, it is mostly divided into three broad categories. First, we have early Cholas, then we have imperial Cholas, and then the decline. So, when we are talking about imperial Chola, that is the time when we have seen that Gangaikonda Cholapuram has served as the capital of this particular empire. Now, if we talk about the reign of Rajendra I, you have to understand it extended from and this particular reign of almost 30 years is absolutely significant in terms of not just contribution when we are talking about military wise, but also architecture wise. Now, when this city was established, it became a symbol of power and victory altogether. Furthermore, as I mentioned, Chola Ganganam water tank was created, which signified liquid pillar of victory. And this temple and the city were projected as the might of southern power, especially during the time when North India was visibly fragmented. And here we get to understand the legacy of Rajendra Chola I, in whose memory a coin was commemorated as it was completed 1000 years of the naval power seen by the king Rajendra Chola I. So, when we are talking about his legacy, it has had immense impact not just in our present country, but across its border as well. So, his reign has extended and the influence has been expanded to Southeast Asia through maritime power. So, when we talk about naval force, it was one of the strongest naval forces that we have seen of that time, and one of the first as well to exist in South India. Now, when we talk about this particular king, he was also known for his administrative sophistication, architecture, temple building, and cultural patronage that he carried out. Now, that is not all. When we talk about the historical importance, we understand that why it was built. But we also need to get into that what makes it hold relevance till date. So, it is the legacy of Rajendra Chola I itself, Why are we saying the legacy? Because it is his impact that we see the presence of Hindu temples and Hinduism in Southeast Asia. If we talk about Cholan empires, King Alara and his conquest of Sri Lanka, that is another legacy that has been left. And the temples that are in front of us come from Rajendra Chola I, especially this one. So when we move and ahead and talk about the architecture, another important aspect that you will understand, the brilliance with it, or the sophistication, the clearer features with which this temple has been brought out. So if we talk about the salient features here, the first one is Vimana. Vimana is basically the tower, and the tower here is 55 meters high, and it is a little different from the straight lines that we see in the Brihadeshwara temple, which is in Thanjore. Brihadeshwara temple has comparative straight lines and it has more of curved lines when we are talking about Vimana. The next salient feature that we see in here is the elevated platform on which the main temple structure is built. Other than that, the courtyard, the mandap if we are talking about, it is a monumental scale which is of almost 170 meter into 98 meter. So it also highlights not just the sophistication that I was talking about, but also the grandeur with which it comes. Furthermore, if we talk about this very temple, the deity which is presiding, it is the Lord Shiva temple. It has a 13-foot tall Shivlingam, among the tallest Shivlingams that we have seen in India. Other than that, there are multiple intricately carved sculptures where we find Nataraj, we find Lingadubhava, we find Mahishashur Mardhani, we find Dakshinamurti, Vishnu, Brahma, Grand Saraswati and many more. This basically shows the stylistic evolution. That means there has been more graceful, ornate version of the Dravidian temple style that we see in South India, and it also marks the transition from just militaristic grandeur to refined imperial elegance that we saw especially under Rajendra Chola I. Now, we have established that how the not just the legacy with the temple, not just the historical importance, but the architecture itself stands out and is a marvel in itself. Now let us go ahead and discuss the cultural as well as religious significance. Because when we talk about such monuments, they are the ones which are symbolic of not just the culture but the religion itself as well. So when we are talking about this particular temple, we have Aadi Thiruvathirai Festival which is being celebrated, which was visited as it coincided with the visit of Prime Minister Modi. It is celebrated in the Tamil month of Aadi, and the second part of the name comes from Thiruvathirai Nakshatra. So basically it is the setting of stars and it is related to the birth star of Rajendra Chola, and as well as it is associated with Lord Shiva. So such rituals are taking place where the king's statue is adorned, new silk robes are, and there are multiple performance, street plays do take place. So this particular region is also known for this very festival. As I've already highlighted that it is part of the Great Living Chola Temples, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Along with, if we are talking about Great Living Chola Temples, it includes Gangaikonda Cholapuram Temple, then we have Brihadeshwara Temple in Thanjavur, then we have Araiveshwara from Darashuram. These three temples are considered part of the Great Living Chola Temples, and till date, it is an attraction for not just pilgrims but scholars, and as we see today, political interest just as much. Now that was all from my side. Thank you so much. If you have any doubts or concerns, you can put it down in the comment section.